Yeah, now we're live.
Now we're live.
Now we're live. Yeah. Welcome to the Monkey Bar, episode 82. Just gonna jump right into it and I'm gonna try and avoid like the touchier subjects today. Because we're safe in our bunker right now. And just gonna try and tune out everything else crazy that's going on in the world out there. How are you, Zach?
Doing good. I now look like Snake Plissken.
Yeah, you showed me that picture, and I just made sure to incorporate that into the thumbnail.
God. Thank you, doctor.
Yeah. You said,
it actually helps with my headache. But
yeah, is it only your headaches, or is there like a pain in your eye?
It's a cluster headaches. They make it. My eye hurts when I get them.
Right.
When I apply pressure, they don't hurt. But it's hard to apply pressure and also do things with that hand.
Well, you know what's been giving me a headache? Yeah, we know what's been giving me a headache lately is Twitter. If things are just as bad there, if not worse, than they are in real life. And I've chosen to just log out of Twitter for like several days at a time because of that, just because it's become such a headache. Just today, like I realized that because I've only been off Twitter for like 2 or 3 days by now, but already I'm feeling like mentally recharged, more creative. One project in particular, I was just spending the night last night writing down some notes for what I want to do with that. And it feels like I've actually just recaptured that sense of like having fun writing, backstories. And, it feels like I'm actually, again, creatively recharged. So, I guess I'll just do this more often. And really with Twitter, I don't really post there that often. All I do is lurk. I have a habit of lurking on message boards and I guess nowadays Twitter and Facebook. But lately it's just I've just sort of realized that it's taken such a toll on me, like mentally, that I just can't really keep it up anymore. And I just want to like have some more introspection, I guess.
I've always been able to use Twitter. I think I've been kind of more posting. I think I talk more on Twitter.
Yeah.
But I've also haven't been on there.
Yeah. But even, because I'm on Discord, I probably go on the SWC Discord channel the most. But even with that, it's like, it's better than Twitter in that, because they still like post stuff from Twitter on all the different tabs, but that's more like a drip feed of information rather than a constant monsoon of bullshit that you see scrolling down the Twitter feed. So yeah, all I've been doing right now is just logging out of Twitter whenever I'm not using it. And what's great about that is that, like, yeah, I mentioned a while ago that I changed my Twitter password to something that's like 20 characters long. So something that's just impossible for me to memorize, and I write it down on a piece of paper and just lock it in my safe. So it's just make it as inconvenient as possible to log back into Twitter. And I stopped doing that a while back, but now I want to be more vigilant about that, because just remembering like how miserable I was using Twitter frequently throughout the day, just try and keep that in mind.
I think I would do the same thing, but with Reddit. I like Reddit more because,
Yeah, I don't actually use Reddit.
More than 130.
Yeah.
I don't post on there, but... Sorry.
Yeah,
I like the idea of subreddit.
Yeah, I have a Reddit account. I just never use it. And it's probably a good thing from what I've heard.
But I also like being able to bullshit with folks.
Yeah. Yeah, for me it's...
How many subreddits will you find for, niche fandoms?
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I don't think I've ever really been a part of any specific fan, like at least an active part of any fandom. like I said, I have a habit of lurking, of like just not interacting with a lot of people on social media or message boards or really anything. And I don't know. I think it's for the better that I just sort of remove myself from even that. You know, I think that I want to say it's probably the writer in me just wanting to like gauge like other people's psyches and opinions, just to like understand like how people work. But after a while, that all just sort of like, you know, it congeals into something, this big tangle of bullshit that, you know, I don't know. Like I said, it pays to step back and be more introspective when you can, when all that stuff becomes overwhelming. And so few people seem to be able to recognize that nowadays. I actually saw on Twitter, Doug Tenaple posted how, like he said, you know, life is amazing when you don't, or no, it's just let me see if I can read his Twitter. Oh yeah, he said, I went to my shut-in elderly neighbors to hang out while my kids pulled weeds in their front yard for scratch. We talked, laughed while we beat up porch rocking chairs. It was the anti-Twitter. Life is amazing when you don't watch the riots. And I happen to agree with it. It's just like, and in reply to that said, social media is the matrix, but it's a prison we have willingly chose to enter. So I guess that illustrates my point a bit better. Is yeah, it's this sort of like feedback loop kind of idea. I'm not really all that familiar with the psychological aspect of Twitter, other than what I've seen for myself. But yeah, it's just a terrible, like, you know, feedback, I guess, that you yourself have to break.
I describe it as the internet rarely changes opinions; it only enforces them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Even talking about it just feels exhausting. So I would like to move on to a different subject.
Yeah. So, how about I don't know. What's on your mind?
I'll start at the top of the list that I wrote down. I finished Mario 64 on the PC.
How was it?
It was good. It's I mean, it's not the one not the Mario 64 I remember, but it's still great. It makes me think of, and I thought this analogy. I'll get into the analogy in a bit, because one key difference is that it loads like faster than it does than the like original N64 version does. So like when you jump into a level, you usually hear Mario say "Let's go," but it loads so fast that you just hear him go "Let's go," and then just like and it loads before the voice line finishes. And then like that was especially noticeable in like the end credits, where you know the montage of all the levels, like they all load like faster than they do in the N64. So like the montage finishes before the music ends. So like I don't know, it didn't ruin the experience for me or anything, but it's kind of like buying a teddy bear that's not like that looks like the one from your childhood, or is like the same type of teddy bear that you had as a child, and just like having it dissected. But even though it's not your teddy bear, it feels like it. I don't know. Like I guess I'm like removed enough from that idea that it didn't really bother me.
It's kind of interesting trying to see it, because you know Mario 64 pretty well, right?
Yeah.
I've been replaying Fallout New Vegas. I got the Ultimate Edition on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been playing it, and I was hit by such a fucking wave of nostalgia. And it's like, I have never realized how much craft you can see in the game. Like, and I've been starting to realize, you know, how much I appreciate RPGs where your character isn't voiced. You know?
Yeah, that's kind of what ruined Fallout 4 for me. Even though I would say that like I've said before, that Fallout 4 is probably it has probably tighter mechanics than Fallout New Vegas. There are some things like I'm willing to concede that there are some things that Fallout 4 does better than New Vegas, like that. Also, I've heard people say that Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 have tighter stories than New Vegas. That some people are put off by having all these different factions and all these different routes in New Vegas, and that's the story of Fallout 3 or Fallout 4. The main quest is more laser focused, which I can see being a positive, and I can also see the opposite, where people want more freedom. It depends on what your tastes are, but. Yeah, I haven't finished Fallout New Vegas yet, but I'll have to get back to you when I do.
What always gets me about New Vegas and why I kind of prefer it is I like how it's a game where, you can be. I don't think there's a game where you can be as evil as New Vegas. Like, it's got such a good quality to its evil route.
Yeah. I think that is a consequence of having such a laser focused plot, is that they want you to do they want you to do like bad things or good things, like depending on how they want you to do them. There is no I guess player input on like how evil you can be, or how, like, I don't know. I think it goes back to what I was saying about the Infamous series and how they have a very specific idea of how to do good thing, or how to have the good karma, or how to have the bad karma. And I guess there's like a point to that in
Karma.
karma. But in New Vegas, there is still that. I mean, I think that you can kill any NPC in Fallout New Vegas if I remember correctly.
I am not sure. I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's even an achievement for eating certain characters as a cannibal.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Major NPCs.
Isn't that like? Are you able to eat a baby in Fallout New Vegas, or is that Fallout 3?
I don't remember baby eating.
Because I remember I saw a screenshot recently of like there's a baby in a crib, and there's a prompt where you can either like take the baby, leave it alone, or eat it if you have the cannibal perk.
That's Fallout 3.
Okay.
Because Fallout 3 has the fucking baby.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. Fallout 3 has so the Pit DLC, I always remembered that if you do the good option, you're kind of the bad guy. The good so the Pit is an evil group, but they're keeping people alive,
Mm-hmm.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's the one that has Snake Plissken in it. The guy who looks so much like Snake Plissken.
I wonder if Bethesda will do a remastered of Fallout 3.
Probably not. They don't. I hope so. I hope we make it like a Tale of Two Wastelands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they did because I know that they've remastered Skyrim plenty of times, but Skyrim is Skyrim, so yeah, I'm not holding my breath for a Fallout 3 remastered.
It'd be cool if they could somehow use the new engine for like Fallout 4.
Like, is there like confirmation of a new engine in Bethesda?
I'm not sure if it's a new engine, but I know it's hacked the fuck.
Yeah, like I hope that they have a new engine in the works. I mean, we're seeing Unreal Engine 5 get released for the PS5. I'm hoping that Bethesda finally puts their. I hope that Bethesda finally takes their 15-year-old engine behind the shed already for Starfield.
It lives. It lives again.
Yeah. Didn't we mention that? Or didn't I mention that Bethesda said not to expect any news on Elder Scrolls 6 for 5 years or so?
Didn't they say that 5 years ago? I'm kidding.
It's like they've released Skyrim so many times, I've lost track of time.
God. Yeah. Time is nebulous. There was only Todd Howard.
If they remaster, if they do, or if they release Skyrim on the PS5, I'm going to laugh.
I hope that, like, Todd Howard, if he dies, they remaster him. He just comes back as a clone. Todd Howard Special Edition.
Yeah. He just works. He starts clipping through the second floor of the Bethesda office.
I have a question for you. Do you like the gunplay of New Vegas more than 3?
Actually, yeah. I don't know what it is, but like if it's just the iron sights or if like the the guns actually feel better. Because I remember having that complaint about Fallout 3 about how the guns don't really feel like they hit the target all the time. I want to say that they fixed that in New Vegas, but I remember just being really frustrated with the guns, like the bullet spread in Fallout 3 with a lot of the guns. So I don't know if that's just a psychological thing or if that actually is in the gameplay. But yeah, I like the gunplay in New Vegas better.
Yeah, I've been playing a guns heavy build.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I nicknamed them Guns and Roses because they're charisma and guns only. My character could talk his way into a gunfight and talk his way out.
I'm wondering if they'll have a option in the next game, or like the next game that Bethesda puts out, to have more detail in the have like just a martial arts build, like unarmed, where you like if you max it out, then you have like Bruce Lee moves or whatever. I'm sure there's a mod for that.
Do you know what game has the best martial arts of any game I've ever played?
What?
Dwarf Fortress. In the adventure mode, you can go so detailed that you can do the ripping someone's heart out from Kill Bill. But you can also like do stuff like roundhouse kick. Like if you know how to manipulate the character, you can do some crazy shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what my number one wish for Fallout 5 is? Being able to play as a ghoul unmodded.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping that if they ever do a sequel to Fallout 76, then they really go all in on making it as polished as they possibly can. Or at least as fun as they possibly can. I don't really think that polish is that important nowadays with games. Because I think that as long as it's fun, then it's like if the game's not fun, why bother? I think that Albert Einstein said that.
I agree with fun being more important than polish. Like, I recently bought a game called Dark Future on Steam, and I'm playing it off topic. I realized, what the fuck? This is Warhammer. And anyways, it scared me. But as I was, just doing my thing, I realized something about the game. It wasn't particularly fun or super, not fun. That's not the word. It wasn't the kind of fun where you could tell that they were super, super, super intent on making this game to be as fun as possible. They set a whole strict boundary of rules, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they let you do whatever you want within those rules. It's definitely the game, basically.
Yeah. Speaking of video games I've played, I just recently played Helltaker.
Was it?
Yeah, it was good. For those unfamiliar, it's a waifu puzzle game with emphasis on the waifus. You play as a guy in a leisure suit who fights his way down to hell to build a demon harem, and you basically punch boulders to solve sliding block puzzles, and and then when you get to each of the demon girls, you have to answer a prompt correctly in order to advance on to the next level and build your harem. You can actually skip the puzzles if you want to just experience the waifu shit off the gates, which is why I said, it's a emphasis on the waifus because it really is. There is a really cool final boss fight, which was a lot of fun. Probably more fun than the rest of the game. And I kind of wish that the whole game was just boss fights like that instead of the puzzle stuff. I think, and it's free. You can check it out just for no money, or you can just look at all the fan art online. If you don't like the idea of a waifu visual novel game with no naked boobies in it. That's my review.
It sounds all right.
Yeah, it is all right.
A treat for the whole family.
Yeah, it is family friendly. It's got one of the girls is an angel as opposed to demons, so it's also a Christian game.
You know what? There's nothing more Christian than demons in a game, especially if you're being killed by chainsaws and shotguns.
Yeah. Reminds me, I've been wanting to play Doom Eternal. I saw that they're actually removing the Denuvo due to fan backlash, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know why Denuvo gives me the creeps.
Yeah. Like, I have a lot of RAM in my computer, so like I don't think this doesn't seem to be a problem for me. I haven't noticed it on any of the games I have with it on. I don't know which games I have that have Denuvo, but I think a lot of them do. But I haven't noticed much of a performance downgrade. I think that if you're trying to save space on your hard drive, then that's also an issue, which it's more of an issue for me. But yeah, it's great to hear them removing all that stuff for, like actually listening to the fans.
I like how Bethesda can, sometimes do really good things and then somehow botch it up amazingly.
Yeah, they are good at that.
When they fuck up, they know how to fuck up.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of fucking up and also demons, I actually was revisiting this video by the YouTuber G-Man Lives, the guy who reviews mods of Half-Life 2 or Half-Life games, and also like other computer games. One that he did was on H-Doom, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. But I remember watching it.
What? H-Doom, Tony?
It's Doom, but with H elements in it. And by that, I don't mean hydrogen. I mean hentai. That was lame. But also, what's also lame is his review. I remember watching it a couple years ago, and it just showed up in my recommended feed because I was watching some of his reviews on Half-Life 2 mods. But yeah, he came across as like really like condescending and bitter, and like I think that he said like, oh, I'm gonna approach this with an open mind, and then he just immediately starts bashing the fans who download this mod and play it. And I think that if you're going to shit on a video game, that's fine, but if you're going to shit on the fans, that's another thing altogether. I think you should have like reasons to, like, if it's like a particularly toxic community, then I think that you're probably in the clear for like bashing on them, as long as you have like several examples, like a laundry list of examples of like shitty things that the fans of this particular thing have done. But for him, it was just like, ugh, this game has sex in it. That's creepy, and people who play it are creeps. And to me, that's just like really immature, and more immature than actually in an actual sex game. I will say though that the opposite can be true, where it's like if you're going to base your entire like personality around like sex games and like all that crap, then you're also worthy of ridicule. But I think that anyone who bases their personality on any form of media is I think that you need to really broaden your interests in that regard. But yeah, G-Man Lives' take on H-Doom was a really terrible take, and it still is to this day.
I
Like, I think that one thing that really pissed me off was that he compared this, like, the H-Doom mod to Super Columbine Massacre RPG. And that is one of the worst takes I've ever seen. Comparing a goofy sex mod of Doom to a actual, like, a game that actually recreates a real life mass murder, and incorporates photos of the victims' bodies into the game. That's just I can't even begin to this. Like, it's just a really terrible and ill take, in my opinion.
Yeah, who did this review again? I don't recognize their name.
G-Man Lives. I think that's his YouTube name.
God.
I actually have played Columbine Massacre RPG, and it's like that in comparing that in H-Doom, or comparing apples and oranges. Or I think more apt comparison is apples and grenades.
I was about to say dildos and grenades, but
yeah, it's and I have like, I think that I don't want to review Columbine Massacre RPG right now, because it was like it tries to, like, my experience playing it. It was a long time ago I played it. I think I was about 16 or 17, and even then I kind of hated it. It's not a very good game. I mean, it's an RPG Maker game based around the Columbine Massacre. It's obviously not going to be very good, but
there's nothing inherently wrong with RPG Maker game.
Yeah.
When you put Columbine Massacre in the sentence, it's like, oh no.
Mm-hmm. Like, I think that the problem is that I didn't really know what the hell they were going for. It's like, it tries to be both a serious look at a real life tragedy and also kind of a black comedy, and it does neither particularly well. I think that if it had like I think that if they had tried to do it even as like a sort of Postal kind of game in that kind of tone, where it's like completely satirical, I think I would have liked it better. But it doesn't end up being serious and, thought provoking, and it doesn't end up being crass and provocative. So it just ends up being kind of nothing. The end of the game, you actually end, like, the two shooters, you end up going to hell and you fight Satan from South Park. That sort of illustrates my point of it's like talking with both hands. I mean, like, doing one thing with one hand and doing another thing with the other.
I heard the phrase, I'm not sure if it applies here, piss in one hand, piss in the other, see which one fills up, to describe a worthless task. I'm not sure if that applies there. That may just be redneck slang for my neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Super Columbine RPG is also just a fucking awful name.
Yeah, I would still recommend playing it just to gauge where you stand. If you haven't played it, then even after all of that, I would say, come to your own conclusion. I'm not going to say, because actually G-Man Lives, when in his review of H-Doom, he said, "Don't ever play this mod." I disagree with that. I think that anything that you criticize should be open. You should tell your audience, play it anyway. You see, come to your own conclusion. Don't just listen to me, because I think that if you're only going to preach your idea of your own perception of the thing you're reviewing and discourage anybody else from experiencing it, then you're a terrible critic. I'm not going to drop the mic because it's on a arm here, so and I wouldn't do that anyway because
I think yeah. Don't mic drop. Don't mic drop.
Yeah.
Drop mic, don't mic drop.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I find that phrase kind of cringe.
Yeah.
Is the word cringe now cringe?
It depends on how you use it. Like, I cringe when I stepped in dog shit is fine.
Mhm.
But going, that's cringe, bro. I don't know why. I just imagine Duke Nukem saying that.
Oh, don't give Randy Pitchford any ideas.
God. Oh, does he own the license to Duke Nukem?
Yeah, Gearbox owns it. Duke Nukem.
Oh no. Make a Duke Nukem game. Oh my god, no.
Ugh.
Okay.
Yeah. Speaking of video games, the PS5 announcement comes out tomorrow, I think.
You ever hear about, like, whenever there's like a Sony announcement, something fucked up happens?
Huh. I know that they had to move. It was going to be today, but they had to move it back a day because of fucked up shenanigans.
Yeah, I'm just waiting. Me and my family are having jokes on, like, every month there's a new horrible thing.
Okay.
You know,
Mhm.
like you know the murder hornets.
I can barely hear
Or the
you,
fucking
so
murder
yeah, you're.
Can you hear me?
No.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Fuck, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're
Testing?
good. You're good now.
Fuck. Okay, I'll kind of talk like this now. I apologize.
All right.
I may have been mumbling.
Okay. But yeah, there's not much to say about the PS5 announcement right now. Hopefully they. I mean, I just want to see a box. That's usually what I think of when like the big, it's Microsoft or Sony or Nintendo. Whenever they say, oh, we have a console working. Here's a controller. I'm like, okay, but where's the box? We know all the specs, but what's the box look like when it comes? And I know that's a really shallow way of looking at it. Like we are, I think with PS5 we know what the specs are, but or like with most of the specs are, but I haven't seen a box, damn it, so it's not real yet.
It will no longer be box. It is now shaped like circle.
Yeah, it's no longer being called the PS5. It's being called the PlayStation Series X 5. Cricket noises. Yeah, I know.
Very squid sex.
Another piece of hardware that I just found out about. It was from a channel called Valve News Network. I don't know if you've heard of them.
No, I haven't.
It's this channel that's exclusively covers news relating to Valve and Steam. I don't know if it's exclusively that, but most of their videos are about Valve, obviously from the title. But they were talking about how the Valve Index, they've been running short on indexes, or they ran short on index headsets before, like after Half-Life Alyx was announced, and they haven't been able to replenish their stock ever since. So they're teaming up with HP with the so now you can buy the new HP Reverb G2 on Steam. And apparently it's going to be more high resolution than the Index. There are some like parts of it that seem like more better than the Index, and it's going to be priced at $600 as opposed to the Valve Index being $1,000. So yeah, that's making me a bit optimistic for getting the VR system or set.
You know what game? Have you heard of that game Gorn? It's the one that's the fighting game.
Yeah.
I want to play that in VR.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even Fallout VR.
Yeah, I would like to see
Fallout VR.
I would like to see GoldenEye make a comeback with VR.
Oh my god. Don't make a man dream.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of first-person shooters from like the PS1 and PS2 eras that I would like to see a comeback. And I didn't really play a lot of first-person shooters on console, other than Halo from that generation. But I remember what was it? Time Splitters.
Oh,
Yeah,
I remember Time Splitters.
yeah. I never played any of the games. I know that that's the series that the studio that made or no, Rare made GoldenEye, or but like there was like similar mechanics in Time Splitters to GoldenEye that I remember. So I don't know, but I just remember people saying that that's a really good. It was a really good series of games. Trying to think what other. I mean, with VR, it's like I don't know. It's going to be neat to see what happens with VR in the coming years.
VR could either be the next big thing, or it could be like the next Virtual Boy.
And the next niche thing. I think that we're past the point of it being
Yeah.
the Virtual Boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, whether it's like whether it ends up being mainstream or not, it depends on how affordable it's ultimately going to be. Like if it's going to be like every new model is like more than $600, then I don't really see it being more than a enthusiast thing. Like it's probably like I can see it being the next PC gamer thing, where it's like the PC Master Race as opposed to the console peasants. Now it's going to be the VR Master.
Even has.
It's going to be the VR Master Race versus the mouse and keyboard peasants.
I just picture you don't even have a headset, do you?
Yeah. I like to.
I suck at being PC. I still use controllers.
Yeah, I mean, I use controllers too for some games. Mostly the third-person action games on PC. Like, I mean, like those like games that are built specifically with controllers in mind.
You know what? What I think would be kind of another nice thing for VR game. I'd like to see if you had to take a movie property. Picture a Wolverine game in VR.
A what?
Wolverine in
VR. Oh, yeah.
Plenty of things to stab and kill.
Yeah, it'll be neat to see how they managed to, because I know that this was a problem that Valve ran into when doing Half-Life Alyx. Is they weren't able to have melee weapons in Half-Life Alyx because of the limitations of VR, and how like the feedback to having melee in it just didn't feel good. I think that was the explanation, because there are some games. I mean, like there are a lot of games that do melee well. Like I know Boneworks. That was sort of famous for having a crowbar be one of the melee weapons. I heard that Boneworks was supposed to be a Half-Life VR game before the studio was, I guess, let go by Valve, or they just decided to do a Boneworks or whatever. I don't really know like most of the drama or lack thereof behind that. This is just off the top of my head. Also, Blade and Sorcery. That's another game that heavily emphasizes melee combat, and also Gorn, which you mentioned. So yeah. I remember there was this one VR game, or like it was. I don't know if it was a VR game at first, but it was like a motion game called Clang that was crowdfunded a while back, like a long time ago, actually, before VR even was like a major consideration for a lot of these studios. So I'll have to look into what happened to that. It was by this guy who was well known in video game development in that sphere, I guess. But I think they managed to raise enough money, but I think that it was put on hold because of like advancements in VR. So if that's not already a thing, if that hasn't already been rebranded to something else, I don't know. But I would look into it. But I think that I'm optimistic about the future of VR. Like, I think that the next big thing is going to be, wireless headsets, because having the wire and having to like manage that while you're in VR, that's one of the major setbacks I think that they need to overcome. And there already is wireless VR, but once it gets on the level of the Valve Index, that's where it's going to be at.
Imagine one day a wireless, headsetless, without the thing standing around you VR set.
Yeah, that's going to be like, I think the ideal setup is where, we have VR, a VR set that's like, it weighs about as much as like a pair of swimming goggles. And you're just having like and obviously the brain computer interface, which, I don't know about that. Like that kind of like makes me think of, we're getting into the Matrix where people can just hack into other people's brains or whatever. That kind of creeps me out, but it'll be interesting to see what becomes of that.
By the way, with VR, if you had to make a VR game, what would your VR game be about?
Well, it would be, for me, I think that it would be heavily emphasizing psychic powers. Because I know that, Half-Life Alyx, they definitely do a lot of that. I mean, a lot of VR games do that, where you like select an object and pull it toward you. I would like do more stuff with that, like have any psychic powers that you can think of and incorporate that into VR. Because I've had an idea of like a psychic power based first-person shooter for a little while, and if I could do that in VR and have it like feel really good, then I would definitely do that. If I had the time and money and team to work on that, and yeah, definitely.
I think if I had to make one, I would make a fighting game, even if that sounds dumb. But I think the twist would kind of be it would be a fight. Probably to explain how you're not touching each other, fighting, astral projection fighting, basically stands.
That could be interesting. Like you control like the stand with the control stick, and then you that'd be interesting. And then you control yourself. Poses. Yeah, that'd be neat.
The harder your JoJo pose, the stronger your stand.
Uh-huh. Another idea I had was what was the name of that mech combat game where you had to buy like the $200 peripheral, like that's like the size
I
of
know
the
what you're talking about. Something like Heavy Armor, something like that.
Yeah, if you could resurrect that franchise but in VR, then that would be pretty cool. Like a complete mech simulator, then that would be cool.
I'm just trying. No, you know what would also have to be even more perfect? Get the BattleTech license in there.
Oh, or Gundam.
Oh, Ava. Just make like a generic mech game, but you can get DLC for different mechs.
You have to buy like a special helmet that you fill with orange juice.
If you my God. And it also has Asuka screaming in your ear for the full thing.
Uh-huh. I heard that there's a that Evangelion, that PSA that the voice actors Shinji and Asuka were in about AIDS.
Yeah.
Apparently the audio of that finally resurfaced.
Oh, sweet, thank you, Jesus.
I watched a video by this YouTuber who I think it was Monica Royale. Was that the name of the voice of Asuka? Or
I believe so.
Yeah, so like she went through she was, I guess, recently going through all these tapes in her closet and found it, and she uploaded it to her personal Twitter. And I found it out through a YouTuber who like put the sound clip into her video, and it's like the funniest thing. It's they're just doing their Shinji and Asuka voices.
Do you know what characters I think should give an anti-AIDS PSA? I want to hear Bubsy give one, but in the darkest, dead serious tone, like that Pee Wee Herman one. God.
I'm just picturing Bubsy going, "This is crack.
Crack is not okay." it can hurt you.
And if you do crack, everything could possibly go wrong.
God. Oh my lord. I just want to picture like the heart, and then like with your hard, gritty Bubsy reboot, it cuts to him taking the crack in his pocket, just like pulling it out, dropping it in there, and hoping no one notices. What the fuck you mean this is just salt in the bottle, guys?
I've got a way to link that to talking about Godzilla, and it goes crack. Bryan Cranston. Bryan Cranston was in Breaking Bad and also in Godzilla 2014. So I wanted to talk about that. Godzilla 2014.
Did you finally see it?
Well, I saw it a while ago. So yeah. So yeah, like I had context for everything that happened in King of the Monsters, which I also saw. But I think I saw Godzilla 2014 right when it was released, or like a year after it was released. Because I think I watched it on video. I don't know. I think that I would like to go back and rewatch it because I think that there are some parts of Godzilla 2014 that I actually really like. I like the sort of realistic look at it, as opposed to King of the Monsters. And I still love King of the Monsters, but I always kind of had this fondness for really examining what would people do if Godzilla actually showed up. And there are glimpses of that in Godzilla 2014, but I don't think there's enough to really like keep a lot of my interest up until like the ending, which everybody loves the ending, the last 20 minutes where you finally get the monster fights.
I actually kind of like how they sparsed it out. I'm going to sound like an asshole and say that.
No, I like that too.
I didn't like it when I first saw it, but I like how it makes you appreciate Godzilla when he finally shows up, when he leaves the casting couch.
Yeah. I still wish that Bryan Cranston was the main character instead of what's his name?
Soldier McSoldier Man.
Yeah, the guy who played Kick-Ass. Except he has no charisma in the role he was given. I think that if they'd given him like more of a personality, then it would have helped a lot. I almost want to say that they like they removed as much of his personality as possible to make him as little like Matthew Broderick's character in the 97 version as possible. But I don't know. I don't think that's entirely correct. Yeah, Bryan Cranston's character was a lot better, and it's a shame that they killed him off like early on. And
I wonder if it was due to scheduling.
Probably they weren't paying him enough money. But I don't know. It's a better movie than like the movie that Gareth Edwards did. What's Gareth Edwards that directed 2014? Or am I thinking of? Yeah, because who directed King of the Monsters?
Someone else. King of the Monsters was directed by the guy who did the anthology horror movie of the little kid Trick and Treat.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Michael Dougherty. Okay. Dougherty.
Mm-hmm. But Gareth Edwards' movie that he did before Godzilla 2014, and the one that got him, or I'm sure got him on to direct Godzilla 2014, was just called Monsters. And I remember watching it on TV right when it was released. Or like it was released a couple weeks after it was released, just on a whim. And it's really boring from what I remember. It's basically sort of like one of those old movies of like where people like going down the river in Africa or South America. In this case, they're like sailing down the river in South America, and occasionally a monster will show up. I think it's more of a character study, I think, but the characters aren't all that interesting. And like the monsters finally show up at the end, and they're shown to be like, they're built up to be like these like aggressive things that eat people. But I guess at the end, it's like, oh, we were wrong all along. They're actually peaceful and just want to like live in peace and blah blah blah. And it's like it doesn't really mean anything by the end.
can work. That twist can work, but you have to build it up right.
Yeah.
Like maybe have them destroy a car because something about it freaks them out.
Yeah,
You know?
I think that was actually the case by the end, like because they were hiding in a gas station and they had to shut out all the lights to because like I think that the monsters are like attracted to light or whatever, and I think that the movie would have worked a lot better if it was like 30 minutes long, if it was a short film, but it's like just goes on and on. I still remember to this day. I think I watched it like 10 years ago by now, and I still remember just being really, really bored. And there were some parts where I just laughed unintentionally at it. So yeah, I don't recommend. I don't really recommend Monsters. Watch it if you're morbidly curious. But
I kind of want to do a joke about it in my comic, where you have these monsters. They just want to live in peace, and the monster turns around, stomps on the guy, and keeps walking.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Let's see. I also watched The Lion King recently.
I will tell you a fun fact about that movie. I remember when I watched it when I wasn't feeling well, and I threw up in a trash can. I'm not sure if that does with the quality of the movie, but it did have a giant African elephant shrew in it, so I do like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a like it still holds up to this day.
Oh wait, the original.
The original, yeah.
Oh shit, yeah, I like the original. Is one of my favorite Disney's. I thought you meant the new one.
Yeah, I have no
That's
interest
the one
in
I
watching
threw
the
up.
one. Yeah.
Oh no, my mom went to see it, so I went with her.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no interest in seeing the new one. I just watched it on Disney Plus because Adam of Your Movie Sucks did his 2 hour long Kimba retrospective, which I'm almost to the end of. I've been just watching it, taking breaks, and I think I got like less than an hour left. He's like really been thorough with debunking all the the Disney steal from Kimba crowds. It's interesting that a lot of the people who complain about that, they haven't even watched any of the episodes of Kimba or any of the series. So he's really, I like the top comments on his video. It's like, YMS became a Kimba, or like he immersed himself in this whole series just out of spite for these people, and it's kind of amazing. So I highly recommend watching that. His YMS Kimbo Lion review.
Since last week.
About what last week?
We were talking about the channel for Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked it up. It wouldn't do jack shit to change the ecosystem besides adding a big fucking river.
Yeah. The Australia Canal idea, but yeah. I don't know if I sent you the internet historian video where he brings it up.
Yeah, I looked it up, and apparently it wouldn't do jack and shit,
except for like having to relocate all the lizards or something.
Well, I think there's actually a lot of like animals that live there. Yeah, just small shit.
Yeah,
things that look at 113 degrees and go, "Yeah, I'm fine, bro."
Mm-hmm.
Or all of it probably say "cunt" a lot more because they're Australian. I assume if you're Australian, you just have a foul fucking mouth. Says the American who says foul fucking mouth.
Yeah. You ever think about your own accent and what it probably sounds like to other people?
Yes, I have a person who asks me if I'm special needs, and I'm like, "You're not wrong." I swallow my consonants a lot. Mm-hmm. But I also have a weird shaped jaw.
Yeah, I think about how I pronounce certain words.
Farmer.
Off the top of my head, like farmer, apple. Like to me, it sounds normal, but I can imagine like somebody like on the other side of the world, they probably think it's hilarious.
I'm friends with a South African lady. And when I talk to her, it's like she has a very clear. When she says something, you can understand every single word in the letter. When I say something, it's like washcloth.
I was actually looking up the FDR speech, the infamy speech after Pearl Harbor, and how like it's actually what he actually like. Everybody gets this wrong. Is that when he says a day that we will live in infamy, he's actually saying a date we will live in infamy. But everybody says like a day whenever they quote him.
Maybe because it sounds better.
Yeah, or
Yeah,
like, or no, I think it's just because like the way he pronounces day and date, they sound identical, and especially through an old timey radio. So I was thinking about how I pronounce day and date. So like the date, like yes, so sometimes I'll say the date is 6/3/20, or instead of the date. You don't really enunciate. Not a lot of people, I don't think, enunciate date over day.
Date,
I don't know.
date, 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 date.
It's date, not date. Date.
Day.
Yeah. See, no.
The day of a date. The day of a date.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Today's date. Mm-hmm. I know that Rick pronounces wash as wash.
I do that too once in a while.
Huh.
And I hate that. That puts hair down my back.
Yeah. I was thinking about also just writing this down at the last second was the Austin Powers movies. I mean, to go back and revisit those.
I love those movies. I'm not sure if it's because they're good or it's just because I watch them a lot.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that they're particularly good. I think that the first one probably comes closest to the traditional view of good when it comes to movies. Like the other two are sort of gag machines, to where they're like joke to joke to joke. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I love Scary Movie 3 and 4 are some of my favorite parody movies or spoofs. But I think that I also like, and I also love the Naked Gun movies, and the Austin Powers sequels. I think feel more in line with like spoofs than, but I think that they have like still a more tangible plot to them than say the Naked Gun. Although I don't know, I'll have to compare and contrast those two. Like watch Naked Gun 2 and Austin Powers Spy Who Shagged Me back to back.
I always thought Goldmember was probably my favorite. I hate myself.
I mean, I've heard some people say that too, actually.
I think it's just because I like the Goldmember character.
Mm-hmm.
You crazy Dutch bastard.
I'll be right back. I have to go to the bathroom.
All right. Well, so in case it isn't clear, I'm wearing an eye patch right now. Proper attire for 2020. I'm not sure how streamers can do this. I mean, I wanted to stream for a while, but I realized my internet fucking sucked hind tit. Excuse my French. Actually, I've been fucking swearing all podcast. Wait, did I ever blink or am I going crazy? Probably I'm going crazy. And this is yeah. Quality entertainment, am I not right? Am I right? Am I wrong? Oh, hi, Niravine. I didn't even see you there. At 407. Probably. Oh, here comes Tony.
All right, I'm back. I hope you were filling
I don't know how. I was. Not particularly well.
Mm-hmm. And I hope that you didn't hear anything on your end.
We heard everything, Tony.
Ah, good.
I'm kidding.
I want them to know how wide my piss stream is.
You know the joke blasting spiders with piss? Tony just obliterates them shotgun style.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Caroline says hi. She's in the chat.
Oh. Hi, Caroline. Oh, sorry.
Or oi, which is, I guess, the same thing as hi. Well, I think that I got some more stuff to talk about. I think I mentioned this guy before. We're the kids. We're the kids.
Familiar.
Yeah, he's this guy who's been doing animations on YouTube in Blender. He's actually been doing 2D animations in Blender, and the most recent one they put out was a sort of combination between 2D and 3D, to where I don't know how to describe it. It's like he does 3D models, like really bare bones 3D models, and then draws over them in 2D. And I've thought about doing something like that before. And seeing it in action is really interesting. He had a short last year featured on Adult Swim as on a bumper, and it's like he was sort of recreating the style of Rankin Bass stop motion animations, and he really nailed it. And it was all in Blender too. There wasn't like you didn't have to build models in real life or anything. It was all done in Blender, but it looks real, and that was pretty impressive.
Blender is a really versatile tool, I've basically learned.
Yeah, they've been doing more support for 2D animation, which I'm really excited about. I've been meaning to once I have an idea of a little short thing to animate, I would love to jump into that and do like stuff with it. It'll be neat to have like everything you need in one program, rather than having a program for 2D animation, a program for 3D animation, for 3D modeling, for one for simulating, or whatever you call it, like what Houdini does or something. But having that all in one program would be really great, and it's free too, which is the best part.
I like free shit. I'm the guy who, free mints, free software. Hey, what's a Trojan? Is it Greek? God.
Yeah, it's funny because condom? Yeah, I was gonna say it's sometimes like it's the opposite of a condom for a computer.
Yeah, it's gonna. I was about to. Yes, I was about to just explain the joke. God.
But yeah, definitely check out Worthy Kids. I think the first short that I found by him was called like Frasier. If Frasier and Niles were demon hunters, and that wasn't the full title, but it's just this 30-second little short like featuring Frasier and Niles from the show Frasier and it's just this like really funny and irreverent little thing that I don't know, I always like. And he also did a hour-long tutorial of how to do 2D animation in Blender, which I don't think I've seen from. I haven't seen a lot of videos covering that, so it was neat to see him just go over his workflow and how to do the basic stuff with 2D in Blender. But yeah, there's more support now for 2D animation in Blender than ever before, and 2.83 is the latest version. I'm seeing stuff from like the alpha of 2.89, where people are comparing it to Google SketchUp, where it's like you can just I don't know what it is. I would have to like actually watch the video on that, but I don't know. It's really exciting to see more stuff being done with Blender, and I think that it's been like a really big jump in the last like 5 months or so, to where we're seeing all this like new stuff, really useful stuff come out of the new releases of Blender. And I'm excited to like play around with that. I have been playing around with it too, so it's really.
I've been trying to use Blender to sculpt characters that are complex to draw.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good at sculpting.
Yeah, it's a little tricky if you don't know how to do it. I've been watching videos on like modeling characters and modeling vehicles and buildings. Yeah, I'm starting to get the hang of it. There's like two different ways of sculpting. There's the like using the actual sculpting tools in Blender, and then there's the modeling where you you do it in editing mode rather than sculpting mode. And I don't really know exactly how to describe like the differences between the two. I'd recommend looking at a video about just that sculpting versus modeling in Blender. One thing I've seen is, well, yeah, I mean, with sculpting, there's this one guy I follow. I can't remember, or like one of his, like a lot of his videos show him sculpting the basic form and then going over it again with planes in editing mode, and that like simplifies the polygon structure to a manageable wireframe for animation. So I think that if you're going to animate this character, then you would need to go over the sculpture again with planes. And I realize this is kind of boring, so I'm gonna like try and leave it at that. And I do want to go into this a lot, but it's not exactly all that interesting to listen to.
I like hearing people talk about stuff that's technical and interesting to them.
Mhm.
Because even if it's not my jam, I like hearing the passion in someone's work.
Yeah. And I'm still working on stuff too. Right now, I've been working on this fan project, which I'm not going to say what it is. I mentioned it offhand before, like a month ago, I think. But like I said earlier, I've been sort of taking long breaks from Twitter, or I've started to just recently. And I'm already feeling more creative. I'm feeling recharged. And what I want to do right now is work on this sort of fan fiction comic project to sort of grease the creative gears, try to sort of nail down my workflow. I know I've said that before, but this time I really mean it. It's really happening. I got a plan. I just need money and time mostly. But
I just need faith.
yeah. You saw that have you seen that one screenshot where it's Dutch on the GoFundMe page where it's just like I have a plan, I just need money.
My God.
Mhm.
I love it.
Yeah. But yeah,
Dutch Vanderland stuck to me.
yeah. I've been meaning to go back and replay Red Dead 2. I don't know if I will anytime soon, but it would be neat to play it again on PC just to see the performance difference. Another thing, I've also wanted to go back and replay GTA 5 again, but I will do that if and when GTA 6 is announced. I'll be sure to replay GTA 5.
I've been working on
I can't hear you.
I've been working on I've been working on an RPG project and a comic that I plan that are sort of joined at the hip.
Mm-hmm.
Characters in the comic will appear in the RPG and vice versa. And I worked on how I want to do a major thing that's in a lot of D&D settings. Are you familiar with the term Underdark?
No, I'm not.
D&D has underground settings, basically where the dark elf shit lives, and it's just underground caves. Surprisingly, they're easy to walk through for ground dwellers. I think that's kind of bullshit that this millennia old cavern system you can just walk through with torches. Some ideas I'm working on fleshing out. It's a labyrinthine, you trip, fall down a 30-meter passage, break your arms and legs, and get eaten by cave monsters. That's why you don't crawl in the caves. I kind of want it to be a really grim world that everyone's going like, at least we have each other. And then humans realize they can't inherently trust each other because humans are inherently assholes. Sorry.
That's fine. This is like based around D&D.
Well, I want to make my own system, but I plan to first release this lore for D&D and then release a rule system for it.
Yeah. It's it just makes me think about Clumsor's comic. I think I mentioned that before, The Party.
The Party?
Yeah, The Party. It's a comic that he does that's, I think it's like based around D&D ideas, because there's a tiefling character, there's orc characters, and yeah, he's been doing that for a while now. I think for the last 5 years, if I'm not mistaken.
And there's a character of Kamina Glasses?
I think so. I would have to check. I don't know if that character showed up for a while, because I haven't seen like Kamina Glasses anywhere in it in the pages he posted recently. But yeah, he's been doing that for a while. I've mentioned him before on several occasions, but I want to recommend his comic. I mean, it's not safe for work by any means. I'll just leave it at that. But it also has a consistent story to it, which is refreshing for that genre. But yeah, he's been doing it for a while. He doesn't have that. It's funny because like he recently broke a certain amount of subscribe or followers on Twitter, and trying to look at what his number was, because it was like a number that was. Like, I was surprised because I thought he had like 30,000 Twitter followers, but it was like a lot lower than that. And I'm like, what the hell? I thought you were like super famous. But he's like, no. And I guess I just put on the air of being really important. But yeah, he definitely deserves more than he's got.
I like the art style.
Mm-hmm.
It's.
Oh yeah, he's only got like 7,000. I thought he had like 30,000. But
were it not for the gore and pornography, it looks like something you could see on Disney Channel in a way.
Huh, yeah. I think I'm thinking of Alex, who's described as like Looney Tunes style. But I guess this has sort of that similar like squash and stretch look to it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
I see it now. I think sort of a theme I want to do. Oh. Hey, what setting, Caroline? Is it homebrew?
Yeah, I don't know enough about D&D to really follow any of that stuff.
Homebrew is just where people, they make their own settings.
Mm-hmm.
They call it homebrew because, it's not official.
But any artists you want to recommend?
I'm trying to think of an artist who I most of the artists that we plug on the show are artists that you introduced me to.
Mm-hmm.
Nautical themes. I like sea maps.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been looking at one artist that I've been meaning to revisit for reasons other than like what I just mentioned, like the opposite of I recommend them. It's Bleed Man, his comics. Just because I'm doing that fan project, I want to just look through the sort of roadmap of what to avoid. And like I think that I came to the conclusion that if you're going to do like a fan project based on like a kids show, then you need to sort of like gauge the tone of the original in order to. I mean, you can't have your character like getting an abortion if it's like a show that was like made for 6-year-olds.
I remember.
Did you see that panel from Grim Tales?
Yes, and I have not forgotten it.
Yeah, it's still stuck in my head too. It's like
it's graphic. It's just the fact it fucking exists.
Yeah, so that like I would say though I would recommend reading it still. It's just a trip, Like the art style also sort of makes up for it. Like if it was done in like a Chris Chan comic, then I don't know if I'd recommend it. Even then though, I'd say it's still like, you know, weird to the point where it sort of like balances itself. It's not like it doesn't go like
Man's style is almost good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that he definitely improved over the years. And he doesn't actually write the comics though. And you can see sort of I don't know if that makes it better or worse in that yeah, like you had to hire a writer who's still just like really fucking weird and like off-putting, you know. But again, I think that if you're doing, I think with a fan comic, you should allow yourself the freedom to do like weird stuff. Like if this was like an original comic, and he has done original comics. Sugar Bits is this original comic that's just as poorly written as his other comics. So in that part, I have to sort of wag my finger at him. But if you're doing it, I'm sorry, what?
Are you gonna go for shame, Bleed Man? For
shame on you. And yeah, it's been a while since we talked about him.
He's almost like an old friend.
Yeah, like the old creepy uncle who showed up to your birthday party, and you know, I can't remember anything besides that because it's blocked out of my memory.
Uncle, what are you doing with that bald eagle? God.
Why is your briefcase full of panties?
Oh my God.
But yeah, with fan projects, I think that you can allow yourself creative leeway. At least that's how I look at it, and that's why I'm sort of going forward with my own fan project before I go into like the comic that I've been slaving over, like getting all the details right for the past like 3 years. I think that I just need to blow off some steam when it comes to making something creative. I think that's probably the best example I can give of why you should do a fan comic or a fan fiction is just if you're in a creative block, it's just to blow off steam. Be sure to do it under a pseudonym though, which is why I'm not saying what genre or what property I'm doing a fan comic of. Or, I mean, the most I'll say is that I'm planning on putting it on Comic Central. It's a comic hosting domain. I need to get that right because it's not a website. It's a domain hosting site. So it's not like DeviantArt or I guess Tumblr or Webtoon where you can just put the site on where you can put your comic on the website. You're buying or you actually have to pay though as long as it's like not a customized domain. So like with Comic Central, it would be, you know, comicname.thecomic.com or something along those lines. So or like comic.co or not co, but like their own, like the Comic Central domain thing dot whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, when you see, like, if anyone comes across that and recognizes my style, it'll be, I mean, that's not that important that people are like, you know, oh, hey, you're the guy who did this comic. I don't want to be like, no, you found me out, because I would obviously take more precautions against that if that were the case. So it's not really a big deal if anyone ends up finding it, which they most likely will, if they put in the effort, which who knows? Like, spend your effort on more important things nowadays. But you know, enough of my rambling. That's basically the point I was trying to get across is, you know, my limited guide to starting your own fan project. I say go for it. You know, I'm going for it. If you're in a creative block, then go for it.
And if all else fails, work for that. I'm kidding.
I was gonna say, like, I thought you were gonna say if all else fails, do porn, which I would agree with.
Oh, actually, but my fan project was for Mario.
Yeah. But if you're in a creative block, then do porn because you want to. Don't do it for money.
God, yes, this.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do it for money, then go for it. But if it's like, I have to do this for money, then don't. Get a real job. And I don't mean that in like a demeaning way, but I mean that in a sincere way, where it's like you're gonna be you're gonna hate drawing naked ladies if you do it just because you feel you have to. Do it because you want to, and I think that's the key for like art in general. Is that if you're miserable doing art, if you feel like that's your like you're only doing it for money, then you should do something else for money. I don't think that you should, corrupt your interest for the sake of financial support.
I can't imagine doing something like, because like, hey, I might want to write, something spicy or draw something spicy, and then be forced to draw porn forever because of that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like going back to Clumsor, he does his porn comic because he wants to. He doesn't do it because I want to keep people on my Patreon. He seems like he genuinely loves doing this story, doing this comic, and I commend him for that. It's something that I've been struggling to like remind myself of a lot. It's because I keep looking at this at the Yesterday Kids, the comic I've been working on for the last 3 years, and how it's like, no, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. People have to like this once it's out. Da, 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 da. And it's just really been impeding my progress, I think, as a storyteller. I feel like I've just also been sort of regressing as a storyteller as well. That might be my imagination, though, because I'm still like, thinking about, I'm still like, developing these ideas. So it's not like I've just stopped completely. Though I will say it's made me kind of miserable going back to it. And it's like once you start feeling miserable over, doing your passion project, then it's really not your passion project anymore. And you really got to do something else to take your mind off of it.
When the passion project does not become a passion project anymore,
Yeah. And absence makes the heart go yonder, I think is how or grow fonder. I'm not sure which one it is.
Yonder, fonder, they both have under in it.
Mm. But yeah, I'll try to post, like, even though I said, I don't want to be on Twitter anymore. Like, I'll only be on Twitter to post if I have like some art to post, because if I'm going to be doing this fan comic, then obviously I'm not going to be posting pages from that because I want to stay relatively anonymous. I don't know what, like, it's not a hard lock, but soft lock on, keeping anonymity on this project, I guess. Like if somebody says, hey, you're the guy who did this comic, then I'll be, I won't like avoid it. I'll own up to it. But yeah, don't expect anything. If you're following me on Twitter, don't expect anything there for a while. Expect like the occasional piece of art. It's been a while since I posted any art, so like expect when we go live, I'll announce it there, and then I'll just log out for the rest of the week, probably. So sorry to disappoint you if you wanted my hot, spicy takes on the economy or whatever you were expecting on my Twitter.
One of these days I want to jump on Twitter and I want to post with the same vigor that I posted during the orc racism debate.
I actually found a website that lets you that generates temporary email addresses to register with a website. So I was thinking about if I really wanted to, I've never done that, but if I wanted to like register a temporary account for Twitter, just like say I don't know, say the N-word every day and see how long it takes before I get banned. I don't know. It's if you see somebody actually doing that, then know that that's not me. Wink, wink. But
that's not, of course it's not.
And I don't think you can actually do that with Twitter because they have to send the confirmation to your email address, and because it's a fake email address, you can't or maybe there is an inbox. I don't know, but there is a website that lets you do that. Wink, wink. Like I'm not saying start making troll accounts to fuck with Jack, but just putting that idea out there. What orc shit, Caroline, was that?
Oh, it's where they said orcs was racist.
Oh, yeah.
I don't, Caroline, I don't get involved in drama. You don't get between me and my orcs, my big green monster men. It was the principle.
Yeah, that was really dumb. No, there was actually a webcomic, and I think it's actually still saved on my hard drive, called Orcs versus Feminism.
Oh, fuck.
I don't know if I ever mentioned this to you, but it was done by this like Tumblr. I'm trying to like think of a word for him that's not hasn't already been beaten into the ground by memes. But it's the kind of guy he's got like the neck beard, or like, plaid shirts, that kind of guy. Then there's like it was like a sort of autobiography about him, like growing up in middle school and coming to love orcs as a sort of symbol of masculinity. And then like a bunch of feminists like start complaining at him about, that's it's like orcs are sexist and rapists and blah blah blah, and him just like sort of kowtowing to them, and this like abandoning his hobby because like feminists kept screaming at him.
I feel sad for that person if that's true.
Yeah, it's a
When by the way, it was fun because it was like the one time when Twitter drama crossed into something that I could argue with some level of articulation.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Game designers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
And one of these types of comics.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
God. I'm waiting till we get till we get lizard men are offensive, or some shit like that. They won't. Mm-hmm. I bet you, this is my theory, there were game designers hopping in on that shit. Like more than one people on that tag that were like, oh, I have a, Patreon, or I'm working on, the pen and or a retro clone, shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired. I apologize.
That's fine. We can probably wrap up soon. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, not really. I apologize.
That's fine. But yeah, I think that this is a good point to wrap up. Caroline, you can call in anytime you want for the next episode. We'll be on the same time as next week. But until then, I have been Tony.
I've been Zach.
And this has been the Monkey Bar.
By the way, Caroline, you're cool.